Inner Delight, and welcome back to another Joyful Connections episode. It's a real joy to be here again with our beautiful Fay Hart from Mexico. Welcome back, Fay.
Thanks, Tina. This is so much fun. I love
Yay!
this. I guess it's been about 6 months. I like these kind of check-ins with you because it gives me pause to see, get the measure of how far I've come along my journey. Because sometimes you know how you feel like you're sort of standing still.
Yeah, then when you have a reflection point, you go, oh my Lord. Well, one of the things, I think it's always fun. I like calling you the rock chick. And we just discovered that you have, names come in your path. And then when you find out all the other meanings connected with it, it makes even more sense. So from the musical rock chick to the other rock chick, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's so exciting. It's because it's almost kind of corny, the whole story, right? That's why I'm having a little bit of trouble writing it because it sounds like a really schlocky kind of new age pulp fiction kind of story, but it's the truth, right? But because, well, we've talked about my life in rock and roll and how that was a big passion of mine. And, big of my life was really dedicated to rock and roll. And, but when I was going through a divorce, right, when that whole rock chick life started kind of getting a bit tattered around the edges, and I realized that I was going to have to figure out some way to make a living. So I ended up in an evening class, kind of a workshop thing, doing an exercise on how to find your life's purpose. And because when you're young, you know what your purpose is. It's just to live as much as humanly possible, right? So you're not looking for it. You're kind of in it. But when everything started falling apart, I found myself in this class, and the exercise was to go back to your earliest memories of something you really enjoyed, and in that you would find a clue to what you should be doing. And every time I would try to do this exercise, the only thing that would come to me was lying on this rock in this little pasture near our house. But I thought, well, what kind of life's purpose is that? Lying on a rock. That doesn't make any sense. So, of course, I've been going on feeling that I failed the exercise. But funnily enough, all these years on, when when I left the music business, I went and read psychology, and that I became a psychology tutor and counselor, and then segued into coaching. And I was always fascinated with Jung. That's what got me reading psychology. And I remember reading about his relationship with a rock. He used to sit on a big boulder in his family's back garden when he was like about 7 or 8. And have this dialogue with this rock. And I remember when I was reading it, I could not get my head around it. It was just too weird for me. I couldn't understand it. But it always stayed with me, that image of this little boy sitting on a rock he'd ask like weird questions like, am I sitting on this rock, or am I the rock he's sitting on? So he would merge into this otherworldly kind of conversation. Well, I told you about how I got down to Mexico and found my house at a yard sale when I was just finishing my manuscript for my book yard sale. So again, Jung sort of flitted through my life because he was all about the theory of synchronicity. So getting the house at a yard sale when I was finishing the book yard sale, things were kind of lining up, and I've always loved Mexico anyway. I've always felt really, really welcome here. And I can't put my finger on it, but it's very familiar to me. It feels very like Ireland. So I think it's to do with, you sense this great matriarch in the tierra, in the earth. It's a very voluptuous kind of culture. Lots of drinking and shouting and, like really lively kind of culture. But so anyway, we talked before about how I walked on the pilgrimage. Mm-hmm. And that was, again, these rocks began coming into my life because I had not even had any inkling that I could walk for 9 days like that. That was so crazy to me, you know. And but I did that, and I started thinking about Jung again, you know, with these rocks, because I became so attached to them, because I'm in the rocky high desert here in Mexico. So, you know, it's just on that kind of tierra. I was constantly in touch with these rocks, and I started feeling that they were giving me energy, in that I got them, how beneficial they were to get traction, you know, when you're going up a hill, or it actually feels really good to get a rock in the arch of your foot, like a reflexology, right? And so I would feel that. I would feel I can't take another step, and then it was as if this rock would appear and just give me that little push that I needed, you know. So I wasn't really kind of conscious of this, because I was pretty much in a daze from walking, you know, my mind was somewhere else, kind of thing. So this was a subconscious connection I was making, you know. With hindsight, I can see it. At the time, I was just trying to keep walking, you know. But then I felt, you know, my life had changed miraculously and everything, because I had done this amazing endurance test. But of course, it wasn't changing fast enough for me. You know, it's still, so I felt again I was going down. And about 4 months later, I really was in a pout in my hammock, thinking, you know, this isn't fair. I've done everything I was supposed to do, and I can't. I'm just making a hash of my life every time I turn around. I cannot seem to get it together. And then there was a knock at the gate anyway, and I was invited to go to a temescal, which is the indigenous sweat lodge here. And yeah, it was amazing. And yeah, I don't know if I told you about that, about the kind of rock star shaman. It's this rock chick that dogs the whole way, right? Because I turn up, and I'm very nervous about it, and it all happened so fast. You know, I didn't really know what to expect or anything. But when the shaman came out, I thought, hey, here we go. Because he looked like yeah, really, just how you want your shaman to look. You know, he had long hair, really beefy, and, you know, knee-high moccasins, white leather trousers. He was just like, so I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And all these beautiful young Mexican women in bikinis doing these dances to the elements. And, you know, I felt like this very prim old librarian in my sarong, you know, sitting amongst all this lively stuff. But the temescal itself was absolutely amazing, because it showed me again this incredible endurance that I have. You know, they heat the stones, and they put these big rocks in a pit in the middle. And this is what Acta is, the shaman. You want to take a look. If you want to pin up shaman, Google Acta. And but he told us that these rocks are our little grandmothers, and they've come to help us heal. And it was just crazy, you know, because I got it. I went into some other form of understanding, or some other form of conversation, and I could really feel these little grandmothers drawing something out of me, you know. I mean, I was kind of quite delirious, because I actually stayed I was the last one. People were clamoring out after 1 or 2 doors, you know, when they put more stones in. But I was amazed at how I have that endurance sort of thing with the walking, and then this. And then, of course, these rocks, you know.
So one question, was the shaman inside the whole time?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You think that was to do with my insurance? I wanted to get him alone. Yeah, probably. Maybe if it had been someone else, I wouldn't have. But I don't know. He was so beautiful beyond, on every level, you know. That, yeah, actually in the now you're making me laugh, you're making me blush. Actually, it's actually now that he was sort of whipping my legs at one point with wet branches. So
you're gonna have this massive traffic to your website requesting for a retreat in San Miguel. Yeah, I can just see it now. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Would be a good idea. But the interesting thing, to continue on this rock story, which I know you're dragging me back into the old rock chair, but I'm trying to go forward, Tina. No. But yeah, so when I would walk the dogs, I noticed this big boulder. And obviously it was there all the time, but I never saw, I couldn't believe, I walked right past it. I never saw it. But then my attention started being drawn there. And so I went and sat there, and then I have made it a practice now for many months. Every morning and every evening I call her Grandmother Rock. And I just started this relationship with this rock, and it's like not crazy, it's not mad. I'm not like some kind of mad woman talking to a boulder. It's a different kind of language. And I think what I've come to understand is that everything is vibrating with its own signature, right? And the rock is so cool. It's like very Zen-like, because it's just sitting there. You know, I mean, how cool is that? Probably, I don't know how long she's been sitting up there, but a long time, you know, just with this amazing expansive view and very regal looking. It's funny because once I started this relationship with the rock, if you will, even my daughter noticed the rock started taking on these amazing feminine qualities of like wisdom and strength, and, you know, just became very feminine, that strong kind of female energy. Well, anyway, that's where these steps that I told you about now, and this is the piece that I'm writing, is called The Steps. I love it. I love the steps, right? And it all came from this Grandmother Rock. And really I've been doing this work for a long time now, and really very actively for 13 years, trying to find that escape hatch, you know. And I have come to understand, you know, how we create everything and how we can completely change our world by changing our thoughts, or more changing our vibration. But changing the thoughts really helps with that. And I'm on this evening going to Grandmother Rock. I met a woman who I often meet when we're walking the dogs, and I love her. She is so vibrant. She is so healthy and beautiful and amazing. And she's British, so she's kind of cynical too, which is always so refreshing when you lived in London for 30 years. Sometimes one craves a little cynicism in life, you know. So I always look forward to her. But this particular evening, she was really glum, and shortly into the conversation, she told me she started going to AA, and it really threw me. I said, wow, are you an alcoholic? And she said, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm codependent, or I just know something's wrong with me. Wow. And I really heard that so clearly, how she just was creating that, you know, and I just said, no, there isn't. Totally is not. Just quit saying that. Anyway, then I walked over to Grandmother Rock, and I just flipped open my notebook, and then I guess I had what I have been hearing people call a download, which was something that really annoyed me, because I thought it was like an irritating kind of new agey way of saying they had a good idea, right? I'm thinking, no, you just had an idea and you executed it. But I had this because I know what happened to me that evening on the rock. Didn't come from my mind. It was something completely other, and it just started. You know, I flipped open the notebook and I wrote step 1. I admitted to myself that I am powerful beyond measure, and I have everything I need to create the life I desire. And I thought, I like this. I like these steps. This feels good. And then I just continued writing. Now, you know, I have gone to meetings. In fact, the AA program was quite helpful for me to stop drinking when I wanted to stop drinking. But for me, it wasn't a long-term gig, because I couldn't buy the sickness model. I didn't want to buy into that. You know, I wanted a model of health kind of thing. But I didn't know the steps. I didn't do the steps, and I wouldn't know them by heart. for example. The next day when I went to the little bookstore where I work, my kissing booth, right?
For
I
anyone who has not seen these, they're gonna have to look back through the yeah, the interviews with Faye, and then you'll know what we're talking about. They're fun.
but
We're speaking to a rock legend here, everybody. You heard it here first.
with the rock legend is right. Well, I took down this book of the 12 steps, the original 12 steps, and I was really amazed how they corresponded, these steps. But then I was able to do what Lucia Renee taught me, when you can sort of imagine that you can move out onto the inner plane, particularly if you have a decision to make, and just weigh things up energetically. You can just feel the weight. And so I just did that with these steps, and I really felt that those original steps, they were heavy, you know, and these steps that I've written now are lighter. And I was really excited, you know, but then I found that I had to do, sorry, my bit of write the story of how I came to these steps. So I had to put that effort in, and I really wanted to keep it short, you know, which is one of my problems. So I'm still trying to cut back, because I find that with a lot of things now, there's too much story. You know, you read all these books. I've got shelves full of all these self-help books and stuff I bought. And there's something in there you need, but you have to go through a lot of story. And I think that we're of a time now where we know we're all interesting and we've all had these amazing experiences, but we want to get to that little gem of how you can just boot yourself over, you know.
To wrap up this segment, before we dive into explanation of what the steps actually are, do you want to just say, you know, so you had that connection with Grandmother Rock and you met your British friend, and this was kind of like the trigger?
Yeah, it was just, you know, seeing her absolutely 100% creating that she was now sick, that I saw just such an illustration of it, and how a lot of what we've moved through, you know, and I think it's just evolution, you know, it's all exciting really, because we've lived through personally, you know, this post-Freudian age where we've all been swimming in that kind of my daddy didn't take me fishing, you know, poor me kind of thing, which was kind of fun, you know, through the 80s. Everyone was getting into therapy and talking about stuff. But I think that we've now moved out of that, you know, and that we really get the measure of our power. So I think that's what these steps are about. I think they're just it's a new time, and we need some new steps. And the neat thing about them is you don't have to have a group. You don't have to work them in a certain way. It's really to inspire inquiry.
Beautiful. Yeah. You know, it would be really great if you could take a picture of your beautiful Grandmother Rock.
Yes, I should. Actually, yeah. I should
post your next blog. That's another story. Yes, our rock legend here has started blogging, and you can find out more about Faye when you go to followfay.com. And well, I always really enjoy our conversations, and I would really like to dedicate a segment on its own to the 12 steps. So why don't we do that in the next one and wrap up for now?
Okay. Yeah. So nice talking to you, Tina. I know I talk too much sometimes, but you bring it out in me.
It's fun. Oh, for everyone who's watching, we would love to hear your comments. If you'd like to leave a comment below the video, you know, leave it in the YouTube channel. Share this video with your friends. I find that when we share these stories that inspire one another, it really has a ripple effect. And sometimes you can hear somebody say something, and just that one thing can spark it off for you. So we would love for you to share and to hear your feedback. And until the next time, many joyful blessings.
Adios.